Might have to see my mom. We'll see.
All right. We are live on Facebook land, and I'm just going to work on sharing this into some of the groups and stuff. How are you doing today, Scott?
Doing fantastic, Tyler. Start
Where-
off by saying thank you for taking the opportunity to join me this morning.
Of course. Where are you at in the world right now?
I'm in 𝗁𝗃'𝘀, Montana.
That's awesome.
A great place for the holidays. What's that?
What's the weather like right there?
We had a little snow today, but in December, we just can't seem to figure out if we want to be seasonably warm or drive more snow to the mountains and more skier days. So it's actually pretty nice, though, where we're looking to have snow all week, which is great for those here for the holidays, because that's one of the driving factors to this market this time of year.
Yeah.
So a white Christmas is what we're praying for.
Yeah, that's what everybody's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Awesome. Well, let's get started. I think we're just waiting for some people to pop in here. It doesn't look like this went live on my feed, so I'm just sharing everything there before we get going. Tell me a little bit about yourself, man. I know you're newer to the team and you're covering what area, what's your short-term rental experience? Give me just a little bit of background on everything.
Yeah. So I think most important for the call today is Montana born. Got roots in Montana from the very beginning. Actually got my real estate career started in Montana, just south of here, about 125 miles in the town of Missoula. Then I was raised California, came back to go to school in Montana. And then anybody, if they're paying attention to Montana, and probably the largest sporting compression event of the year just happened yesterday when, well, actually 2 days ago. Now we're on Monday. So anyway, and that's Montana State, the Bobcats versus the University of Montana Grizzlies. And that was the semifinals with the bid to go to the Natty in Nashville. So that happened for the Cats this year. I split a little bit of time at both. So I'm kind of, and I pay for some turf there as my daughter goes to school in Bozeman. But long story short, yeah, so 95, 96 residential real estate sales, took a gap and went and chased healthcare, corporate career, came back to 𝗁𝗃'. This has always been my second home. I'm actually sitting in a house that I spent probably 35 plus years of Christmases and Thanksgivings. And it's a great story we might get into because it kind of speaks to the appreciation and what's happening in the 𝗁𝗃' market as friends come back. Sphere of influence and lots of people are coming back to buy second homes and lifestyle assets here in the market. So, and then when I came back 05, 06, I was part of a development group that did the first kind of mountain chic development project, more your midterm condominium project, 160 units right here called the Montera. Anybody that's familiar with 𝗁𝗃' will know that project. It was the first to really bring in a swank clubhouse with all the features, golf simulator, pool, hot tub, the whole 9 yards. And then we all know what happened in 06. The market kind of went to bad across the country. So I went kind of did my bread and butter back in healthcare for another 13 years. And fast forward 20 years, I couldn't wait to get back to Montana. So been back now and ready to embark on this new adventure with 𝗁𝗲 in an area that I'm very fond of, that I've started doing a long time ago. I've been bullish in real estate since I bought my first property in Spokane, Washington back in 97 and have been investing in it since that time. If I was really going to say what was my entry into the short-term rental market, it was my first acquisition in the Outer Banks back in 2021. Kind of as we were all coming out of the pandemic. And it was one of those markets that I've always been an ocean, California raised, Montana born. I'm an oceans and mountain guy. So picked up a beautiful oceanfront property out there in the Outer Banks that we've been managing successfully. We're doing an equity analysis at this point. It's on the market to be sold so we can level up and do some different things. So that's kind of my high level. But in the last 3 to 4 years, I've actually in the Seattle marketplace took on 4 renovation projects 3 of which I turned into short-term rentals. So I went all the way through the construction phase, in the trenches, literally, in the crawl spaces, took them all the way down to the studs, did a full design build, and then flipped them into short-term rentals. And the most recent one I just sold on Flowing Lake, a lakefront property, very similar to the marketplace here. Sold it turnkey, literally turnkey. Transferred the bookings, did the whole 9 yards, stood there side by side with the buyer and got them successfully set up. And they're now still operating that property as a short-term rental today. So it's what I do. It's what I live.
That's awesome.
I don't only talk about it, but I do it as a personal investor.
You've been in the market a lot longer than me, that's for sure.
Well, there are big gaps in there, Tyler. Big gaps. But overall, yes, I'm now probably getting close to a decade in real estate.
That's amazing. And I want to zoom in on one thing that you said there, which was you're doing an equity analysis to decide if you're going to sell the place or not. And I want to just zoom in on that a little bit, because a lot of people don't understand what you mean when you say do an equity analysis. And so, when you initially buy a short-term rental, you do what's called a cash on cash return, right? You figure out for your cash that you're going to put into the property, what's your return going to be? Because that tells you whether it's worth investing in this, or do you go put your money in the stock market or somewhere else? Do you put it in a high yield savings account, for instance?
Yes.
And ultimately, this cash on cash return is typically why people do invest in short-term rentals, because it's elevated, it's high, it's pretty good numbers. An equity analysis is a cash on cash return, but it's in what you currently have in the property, in your equity, right? So you may buy a property today and with down payment, furnishings, design, all that, put $200,000 in. But if you own the property for 3 years, it may grow in value by $200,000. So now you have $400,000 in equity in that property. And the goal is to figure out, is your equity in that property giving you the best return it can in today's market? So with that 400,000, is the return, the net that you're getting on that one property, still a good enough cash on cash return to keep that property, or do something else with it, refinance it, cash out, do something else? Or do you sell that property, take that 400,000 and put that into maybe 2 different properties that would then net you double what you're maybe making right now? And so that equity analysis is actually a tool that we have internal at 𝗪𝗵. We've got that in a spreadsheet. This is new. We're just working on releasing this right now. I literally just got off a meeting about it, which is why I wanted to bring it up. And so if you are interested in doing an equity analysis with Scott and 𝗪𝗏 or any of our agents in our 27 markets across the US, just shoot me a DM on Facebook or Instagram and I can get you set up to do that. Yeah, so just a little marketing sales pitch advertisement there real quick. But I do think it's a huge value for people, because a lot of people, the ease of keeping something is attractive, I think. You're like, okay, I'm netting money. I'm happy with it. And it's easy, because a lot of people remember the difficult days when they first bought a short-term rental and things broke and there's renovations and it's really stressful. But over time, it is worth a look at knowing and understanding what your equity is actually returning to you. Because if the number's lower and lower and lower, it might be worth it to sell that and put it in high yield savings. Typically, what we're going to recommend is to buy more short-term rentals, right?
Yes.
But we understand there's some pain associated there sometimes. So figure it out. Make sure you know, I think more than anything, right? Know the information so you can make the decision.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And it's all part of the exit strategy too. And as we build out our pro formas, it kind of helps you evaluate that.
Yeah.
To your point, as much as we like to believe it's passive, we know that that's only for tax purposes. It's considered passive, but all these require active participation. And it is part of that, right? Like, how long does it take you to basically get those same type of returns in cash on cash versus capitalizing on that equity and leveling up? Or fantastic.
So what's the market like in 𝗪𝗏 year over year?
Year over year, if we look at, and this is where I'm going to kind of expand, because to say, you kind of asked me in the beginning, and I'll touch on that briefly. 𝗪𝗏 is just a submarket. You can't even really it's a small little town. Some often refer to it as the last best ski town. But when I kind of drew out and joined 𝗪𝗵, and they allowed the opportunity to kind of cover a territory map. I think we need to bring into this conversation other sub-markets within this market. which would be Whitefish. And then obviously what we kind of refer to as the Glacier Corridor, because we are in great proximity to Glacier National Park. That brings in 3 million visitors a year and has consistently been doing that. And it's actually kind of nice that it's growing on the shoulder seasons as well. So in Whitefish, we consider this kind of a dual peak market. But at the same time, when we start to look at like what is really happening in the market overall, kind of from a year-on-year growth perspective, if we really hone in on ADR and RevPAR, and yes, you got some of the numbers up there, which is fantastic. We're seeing a 3 to 6% growth, but in specific submarkets overall, looking at East Glacier and that kind of 𝗁𝗵𝗏 City, that would be kind of that Glacier Corridor. And then as we look at other opportunities, we have Whitefish there to the right. You're seeing those daily rates, those average daily rates. Revenue potential, while we're not seeing it here, is actually up in the double digits, which is fantastic. It's up in that 20% range. And then we're starting to see length of stays go up. Once again, it depends on seasonality. And then if we look at a couple, what we may kind of jump into later is what is a sleeper market.
Sure.
I would maybe point to Lakeside for that, for future development that's happening in that area with some large major, Discovery Land Group, which is the ones that have done Iron Horse here locally in Whitefish, as well as another area called Big Sky, which might resonate a lot with people who've maybe caught on Paramount Yellowstone. And then, so I'd really boil it down, Tyler, into those 4 kind of submarkets. Whitefish, Glacier, Columbia Falls is where I think one of the best opportunities are, because that's a value driven. That's where you can pick up some acreage. You have less regulation because it's unincorporated Flathead County. And that's where we're seeing some significant growth across all the key metrics that we normally look at, whether it's revenue growth, ADR, occupancy, and RevPAR. It's double-digit growth across the board. So overall, pretty healthy. But the main thing that needs to come into play here is acquisition price in Montana is not. It's not for the faint of heart.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense. Cool. So we're looking at like Flathead, Glacier National Park, Quorum, Mountain City. The avatar here you've put is kind of a 3 to 5 bed, 2+ bath, mountain upscale luxe. The numbers look really interesting. I think I always like to look for markets where the numbers are all up year over year. Occupancy rate is up, RevPAR is up over 11%, average daily rates are up 8% year over year. Annual revenue in the entire market's up 10%, which means things are trending well. This is an average market, right? So it's not saying that the houses can only do 80,000 there. This is like 50th percentile, right? So
100%.
When you look at, a 3 to 5 bedroom, what does that cost in this market? And then what is the actual revenue potential of, the best top 10% types of properties there?
Yeah, great question. So, the potential in some of these is actually looking to almost double that. So if you look at some of the top current performing properties in these areas, that 3 to 5 is great. In this particular market as well, I'd almost lean kind of at the luxe 2 to 3 bedroom condo, or cabin, not condo. It'd be more of your cabin style with views, and those are actually pushing closer to 100. And in that 3 to 5 bedroom buyer avatar, you're going to be pushing 150 to 160. So almost double what you're seeing. Because those rates in summer, which we have to take into play, once again, we kind of have our prime June to September Glacier National Park. But it's actually, they're already advertising that it's starting to spread into May and early October, kind of once, everybody else has left. It's a beautiful time to be here, is spring and kind of early fall. So that potential is much more significant. The score, as you see, but I would like to highlight to the left, which you just showed, that revenue growth is at a 91. So if you look at the overall market rating for the area, is kind of in that mid 50s to 60s, which might, cause some concern for investors. I think some of the key metrics, there's still great opportunity here. I just think you're going to need to differentiate yourself.
And it says, one of the lowest scores on here is seasonality, but it looks like occupancy rates are getting better, up
Yes,
over 5% year over year.
correct.
Yeah, that's great. Okay.
And the nice thing, I think this gets back to a good conversation, and it's proximity, and it needs to come into play. So if you're out in West Glacier, that's if you're West Glacier from the entrance of West Glacier, which is actually where I reside currently, that's 24 miles to Whitefish, downtown Whitefish, and another 5, well, call it 8 miles to get up to the ski mountain. Within that, in the middle of that is 𝗁𝗵𝗲𝘃. So 𝗁𝗵𝗲𝘃 on the west border is only 5 miles from Whitefish. If you're on the east border of 𝗁𝗵𝗃, you're basically smack in the middle between West Glacier and Whitefish. So that's where I just think it's a beautiful little sweet spot. And you're going to get property values to where you can get a 3 to 5 bedroom with acreage, right at that probably 900,000 to 1.1 million. They are actually higher than that. That's for the new construction, new builds with more acreage. So that's kind of where, you got to be thinking from a dollar investment standpoint. As you get out, I just submitted one for one of our daily listings in West Glacier for 765, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And the numbers were penciling out at gross revenue expectation of 99,000.
Wow. That's great. Okay, what do we look at next?
Your call. Let's drive it. We can go whatever direction we want to go.
Yeah.
There's more of that if we like straight numbers, because I've broken it down by each market. We could scroll down and look at some of the others, but I think the overriding theme here is length of stay in your smaller kind of 2-bedroom, 2 to 3-bedroom cabins right at about 4 days, and that's growing. If we're looking at more of your 3 to 5-bedroom product, Luxe upscale, you're getting closer to 5 minimum length of stay, close to 5, which is great.
So it looks like to me, what I'm seeing is the houses are doing a lot better than the condos, just overall.
Yes. Yeah, and it wasn't. Yeah, and that's there's a fair disclosure there to really kind of pull and look out. Yes, but your answer is spot on. I think if you're going to try and compete, moving back to the Whitefish market with your traditional ski in, ski out, which definitely drives premium ADRs. The top performing property up on ski in, ski out, 3-bedroom, 3-bath right now is gross revenues are 300,000, and they're charging $2,000 a night.
Wow.
So, but there's some competition there, right? So if we think about other investors that have come into play that we all know well, his portfolio in the Whitefish market is diverse. It's very interesting. There's a huge mansion super property. Well, they're all super properties, right? I think you know who we're referring to.
Yeah.
But that portfolio is a 1-bedroom ski in, ski out on Big Mountain. Well, I call it Big Mountain. It's Whitefish Mountain Resort now, but anybody who's been here as long as I have refers to it as the Big Mountain. Or it's your 3 to 5 bedroom with views, anything that drives outdoor experience, because that's the key driving feature of this marketplace is the experience, nature immersion, wellness retreats, destination weddings. That's kind of where we're coming in for the buyer avatar. But yes, in overall key takeaway from an investor standpoint for today's call, an introduction to the marketplace, that 3 to 5 bedroom is a sweet spot.
Yeah, I mean, and the numbers are up. Like, look at this in 𝗁𝗵𝗃𝘃. I mean, 3 to 5 beds. The upscale and luxe houses are up 33% annual revenue, 26% in average daily rate, 39% in RevPAR, plus 15% in occupancy rate. So, and this is again going back to condos, right? So, for everybody that's watching, we're kind of cycling through the markets here, but going from these 3 to 5 bedroom houses to these 2-bedroom condos, right? And so you can see that the condos are kind of losing their market share to the bigger houses.
Yeah, and that's a function of supply and demand. There's been tremendous growth, and kind of then where we at some point, and this could be the right opportunity, is there's tighter regulations in Whitefish.
Yeah,
that those corridors for short-term rentals are tight. So it's key to work with a local expert like myself that can help you through that process. But I think that's a function of that factor is there's just more supply coming in. There's still the demand is present, but there's this we're seeing overall that it's starting to stabilize in
Yeah.
that specific avatar.
Totally makes sense. Okay, awesome. So overall, kind of talking about like year over year, it sounds like Northwestern Montana short-term rental market is strengthening right
Yeah.
now. What is inventory like? Is inventory scarce there? Is it hard to find? What does that look like?
Yeah, so fair. So it's similar as other markets that I've seen. Obviously, properties are staying on the market longer. The inventory is low in consideration. We're starting to see to where for a while there, people were just sticking prices on properties in hopes that they're going to still capitalize on that kind of post-pandemic swing. Appreciation in general for this 3 to 5 bedroom market has kind of been 6 to 8%, although some people have seen 10 to 20% returns in
Mhm.
appreciation. It's just been significant. So we're starting to see that stabilize. There are gems out there. What I've seen as of lately, because I've been shopping 5 homes a day and trying to put that one best listing opportunity out there in each one of these markets, I've found the one in 𝗀𝗵𝗄𝘆, the one in West Glacier. Whitefish is going to be probably 4th on my list, just based on currently what's going on, unless somebody is willing to want maybe potentially a lifestyle second home asset, straight rental. You could get into that ski in, ski out market and still capitalize on the 2 compression event months that we have, which is February and March, and
Mhm.
start to see your returns right away. The next best opportunity, I think, is going down to Lakeside.
Got it.
And there's reasons for that, but inventory's there. Some people, the ones I was following, are going to have to be probably creative, reach back out to the agent, see if there's an off-market opportunity to relist and buy. But several people have pulled them off because they've been on the market for 6 months. They're stale. There's not going to be a lot of buying activity right here in the dead of winter. It's a
Mhm.
hard time to move. It's a hard time to get up and running. But then again, for those of us that are savvy investors, I think it's the prime opportunity because you can get in, do any of the work that you want to do to create that super property amenity package and be ready for spring. And then that's obviously the key prime season. So
Makes sense. Um, what is so I know we talked a little bit about seasonality, it's extending. What do those seasons look like right now?
yeah, so this prime outside of really April and October, we're seeing rental demand. Right now, we're clearly in our winter season because of Whitefish Mountain Resort. Brings skiers in from all over. So that's we're kind of in the heart of that. It's just the beginning Christmas week. So there's really 3 compression weeks on that mountain outside of just things that they already have scheduled between races and slopeside events. But it's really this week of Christmas to New Year's.
Mhm.
Historically, Whitefish has always had a big presence of our brothers and sisters to the north out of Canada, in particular Alberta and Calgary. That was always who brought in the majority of traffic to this area in the wintertime. That's no longer the case. With the influence of the airport in basically 6 major carriers between Alaska, United, American,
Mhm.
Allegiant, we're just getting a lot more people flying in as a ski weekend, whether that's couples retreats, the boys getting together, the ladies
Oh,
getting
yeah.
together, whatever the case is, they're here and they're here to celebrate. So this is a key week. And then as we get into February, we have a legendary event called Winter Carnival.
Mhm.
That's a very festive. It's one of your favorite little downtowns that you could ever experience. It's got that old West kind of feel to it. They got it all decorated for Christmas and the holidays. But we have Winter Carnival, and then obviously one of the largest weekends is President's Weekend, which actually happens to coincide with Family Weekend in Canada. So those are the only times on this mountain you'll really see lines.
Mhm.
They got to chair, but other than that, it's great skiing all year long. So
Yeah.
that's our current season.
Yeah.
That will go into the beginning of April. It's going to get a little quiet in April, and then we're going to start pushing into May, and that's where some of the early travelers that come to kind of have the peace of the mountains without the crowds.
Oh yeah.
So we're starting to get some of that May traffic, and then it's game on from June, July, August, and into September past Labor Day. There is one big compression event that happens and has been happening for the past, I think it's going on 7-8 years, and that's called Under the Big Sky. So anybody who's a music lover, it brings in, it's a 3-day festival. It's kind of your indie country. We've had headliners like Mumford & Sons, Tyler Childers. This year, though, the headliner is Chris Stapleton, but that brings in 20,000 people a day for 3 days.
Wow.
And that is right in that little corridor just east of Whitefish. If you have the right property in 𝗀𝗵𝗄𝘃, you're going to get the traffic. And then obviously people that they come here for, the experience, right? A lot of people are going to do that in addition to obviously spending time in glacier hiking. So that's where you're going to get your longer stays. You're going to be able to drive some additional occupancy, drive your ADR, and obviously that's a function of RevPAR. So those are the two primary seasons, with the shoulder seasons expanding and increasing demand. So that's where we're seeing some strengthening in the market. People are starting to enjoy it for longer periods of time.
Yeah, I think it's becoming, you have this like breakout hit show, right? And it has kind of put a lot of eyes on the area. You have other investors coming to invest in the area, which puts a lot of eyes on the area. People are upgrading properties, which, we've seen that upgrading your properties in Asheville, for instance, has brought a lot of eyes to this market and ended up bringing more tourism. So it sounds like, one, the seasonality is getting extended, but number of tourists coming are going to continue going up as well. The quality of guests, the quality of stays, all of it rises together. So it kind of sounds like, there are some similar profiles there, but certainly we don't have a cool TV show to fall back on here. So,
well, not yet. Give it time, right?
So what are some common mistakes that short-term rental owners make in that market?
Yeah, great question. I think common mistakes are just thinking that location, right? Just having a place in Whitefish is going to do it for you, right? Because there are eyes on it, right? So I think where I'm seeing gaps in opportunity in the market are clearly for those, there's tired properties out there. I've actually, when I've done the research on there's one, and we got to fact check even AirDNA sometimes. You look at what is listed as the top property that's grossing $600,000. It's not on the lake. It has spectacular lake views. But as far as the property and stuff, it needs an update. So everything there's a lot of new growth in the area. There's some fantastic design. It actually, from what I see down in Asheville, Tyler, there's similarities. It's mountain chic. It's luxe. Like these are high end. We're talking $800 to $1,000 per square foot builds, right? So to play in that space, you're going to have to come in and do something unique, right? And/or you're going to have that tight renovation budget to update the property and bring it to a scale that's going to be a super property. I think so. So that's part of it. And then what I've seen is just a lack of the systems that we offer at Savvy, right? And the systems that are available in the marketplace now to really kind of leverage AI to enhance that property, whether it's design, systems and processes, management. There are just gaps there. You're not seeing an abundance of dynamic pricing at this point in time. You're not seeing some of the features that make everything a little bit easier. So whether that's leveraging HostBuddy, one of the things that I think is an easy change that could be as simple as touch stay guides. If you're coming in and you're differentiating your property because you have hiking and biking guides, you have all the best golf courses in the area because there's tons of good golf in this marketplace. Then we know Airbnb in particular is shifting to experiences. So anything that you can do that separates you based on the experience forward versus bed count is going to win in this marketplace.
Yeah.
So there's some of the subtle touches just on how the property's operated. But from a design perspective, then I'd go out to the outdoor space. I'd really look at the opportunity is not everybody's leveraging the simplicity of having a hot tub.
Yes, that's right.
Right?
Such an
Like
easy
it's
addition.
right. It's a simple investment that means a lot, especially
Mhm.
because then it allows you to really play into both seasons as well. As you shift into the summer months, it can get warm here in Montana. So maybe it's not the hot tub, but it's the cold plunge, but the barrel sauna. But I'm seeing wellness.
Yeah.
Wellness and experience are going to be key drivers and are what are already driving people to this market. So, as much as your property caters to that, simple things like gear rooms. We get into pets too. This is a very kind of Pacific Northwest
Yeah.
drivable market that most people are traveling with pets.
Yeah.
So, I like to call it the 𝗵𝗃 kit. I might have picked this up from Melissa in a previous conversation, but it's that very important companion. And it's the little fur kit and the amenities that kind of really separates you as a pet friendly property. And then obviously you have the space to be able to do that if you're getting anything on acreage. So those are just kind of some simple ones. It seems simple. It is simple. And when you have the right support team to be able to help put that into play for you, got all the vendor contacts, got all the right people that can help us elevate our properties,
Mhm.
but it's going to take a couple small tweaks to really stand out in this marketplace still. It's not
Yeah.
like Asheville, right? To where the design is coming to the forefront. And if you're not coming with the design, but then again, you have a lot of people that have beautiful custom homes here. So um, we have the resources from local level furniture stores indoor. Hey, it can
Mhm.
be the house that Amazon built, but if it shines, and here's the thing, the simple one, and I should have mentioned this from the beginning: photography. Beautiful spaces need beautiful photography,
Yeah.
right? Professional photography. Because obviously to shop and experience and really put that guest avatar into that experiential, you got to be able to sell them with your photos in your property. And I'm just seeing so many people and so many listings that still have the dark photos taken with the iPhone. And it wasn't an iPhone 17. It was probably an iPhone 12, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it's the simple things that I think can really elevate a property coming into this market.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. So, you've got expanding tourism, all these things. What is leading to that? What are upcoming demand drivers? Why are more people going to continue coming there? We know why more people are going there now, but like, what's going to continue driving that demand there?
Yes. So it's a great question. I think I mean, a key play is um, it has its slogans, big sky country. The simple one up front, glacier is going to always be glacier,
Mhm.
right? Montana's beauty is something that literally is gifts in ways that the power of the land has a way to change you as a person. Once
Mm.
you've experienced Montana, there's always this draw to come back, and you don't have to be born here to have that draw, right? It's one of those places that has a lasting impact onto you. So the tourism's always going to be there. It's only been exponential, and then as more people, I'd like to believe, and let's be honest, Whitefish is different than your Bozeman Big Sky,
Sure.
but it's the same state. And it doesn't take long for those people that are kind of like the national park. I want to hit every national park in the United States. There's two that are going to be on their list always, and it might
Yeah,
be towards the top of their list, and that's Yellowstone and Glacier National Park. So,
that's true.
and the,
Glacier is my favorite park for sure.
yeah, and the proximity, and then that's just not. It's not even saying let's get up and go over the top of the mountain and get into British Columbia,
Mhm.
right? Because then you have a whole. So this is a place that I think people not only come once, but it has that opportunity to be something that's sustainable. And I just think there's a play for a lifestyle asset investor as well in this marketplace that they call it a second home. And we do need to touch on something that's going to play into that. That's going to be kind of a burden to that. That's definitely something that needs to be known, but it's the tourism. And then we have some significant um, venture capital, Silicon Valley venture capital billionaires that have found and discovered Whitefish. We have some Hall of Fame quarterbacks and pro athletes that have decided to call Montana home. Anybody who has played in the past at Under the Big Sky, once that artist comes and their backdrop is the gateway to 𝗁𝗍, and they feel the vibe of this market and of this culture in Montana, it draws you back. So there's big development going on. Continues. There's some major players that are coming to the town that's going to continue to bring the type of investor and dollar to this market that's going to need, obviously, to build out the short-term rental space and to have those options, because this is a market clearly to where it's not metro, it's not urban, it's not the hotel stay where that makes sense. This is where people want space, they want privacy, they want views, they want that family experience, and it's something that brings them back every year.
Yeah, that makes sense. It does seem like, you definitely have some differences between like Big Sky and this Whitefish area for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think the difference there, and the key to kind of point out is nothing against that. Big Sky is Big Sky. We are still probably undervalued in comparison.
Yeah. So
now it's still a high price point, acquisition price point. Like, you're not getting into the whitefish market for less than 1.5 million.
Yeah.
Right. And if you want waterfront, a shoebox lakefront on whitefish is a teardown, still on the market today for 1.8. Right. Yeah. So there's some dollars that are needed to come invest, especially if it's specifically whitefish is what you want.
Yeah.
But that's where we start to look at 𝗁𝗵𝗄𝘃, Lakeside, because we haven't touched on it, but it sounds like you've been to the area. There's this beautiful lake called Flathead Lake. It's the largest freshwater lake west of the Great Lakes. It's 35 miles long, 17 miles wide, and absolutely stunning. On the northern end, which from the area we're talking about is about, call it 30 miles to be safe from Whitefish. You're at the north end of Flathead. Getting down on east and west shores, on the east shore, you have a beautiful, quaint little town called Big Fork. And then obviously coming on the west side to Lakeside is where the Flathead Lake Club is coming in. And I referenced Discovery Land Group. They're in the conditional approval process, which has gone through with some resistance from the locals. But they're planning 1,600 acres and close to 360 homes in that lakeside. And it's going to change dramatically. And that's where if I was looking to play kind of let's flip the hat and the pillars of investment success, you would put appreciation before cash flow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that important?
It's that important.
Wow.
Yeah.
So talking about that, like, what are the best opportunities right now?
Yeah, I'll boil it down to two, since we've talked about a lot of different things today.
Yeah.
I think the 2 3-bedroom cabin in West Glacier or in the Glacier corridor, strong play. You're going to be able to get in for about anywhere, call it on average $750,000 to $1 million potentially, and then that sweet spot in Columbia Falls. That buyer avatar looking at 3 to 5 bedrooms. You're not going to be able to get more land in the future in Montana. So if you can get it on 5 to 10 acres, fantastic, right? Because that's going to give you, once again, we talked about what amenity packages. I'm only aware of 2 properties in the area that have kind of explored geodomes. There's a glamping opportunity in summer too with that type of acreage to kind of create a wellness retreat type of environment. And then we mentioned destination weddings. If you want to play in that space, there's probably still an opportunity there, because the venues that are here, they're booked consistently, and depending on how nice they are, come with the dollars to do that. So there's potentially to do a barn-dominium to where you could host events.
That's amazing. Are there any barn-dominiums there?
Yes. There's more and more of that design. Yes. I had the one I just submitted actually is a barn-dominium look, but that's probably my next one, Tyler. Yeah. I got to have a barn-dominium in the portfolio.
I want to have a barn-dominium in the portfolio too. Right. You got to give me something.
Let's talk.
Okay. So I know in Asheville, like we do a lot of value add stuff.
Mhm.
Value add versus turnkey. What's best in Northwest Montana?
Yeah, great question. This is one where, like, if you're looking for an average turnkey, that's risky in this market. Not going to make it.
Hmm.
Unless it's got beautiful photography, professional photography, all the amenity packages. Let's be honest, is there really ever anything turnkey? But I would
Sure.
go for the value add. I'm a value add investor. That's kind of where I've cut my teeth in this business. That I think that's the best opportunity you're probably going to find. And then I'd lean in that market space, particular back to Columbia Falls. And I do the value add amenity packages that if there isn't a hot tub, that's a given. Barrel sauna, putting chipping greens, anything that kind of brings that experience outside
Hmm.
is going to be a given. And then oftentimes we think about what is it? How do we entertain the kids, right?
Oh
Because
yeah.
obviously families is probably the number one avatar in this market space from a guest avatar.
Hmm.
So with that, you could do the arcades, and I'm not going to say arcades aren't great, but I'd game rooms, things that actually, brings the families together in that
Hmm.
experience
Yeah,
versus tries to put them in separate rooms.
that
And
makes
you can
sense.
do that both inside and outside. And then I was looking actually at some, well, it's interesting. These are kind of luxe amenity packages, but with any time you have a good fire pit, it's the s'mores kits, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
it's it's those features that kind of once again make it just seamless for the guest.
Hmm.
Um, Gear rooms, which sounds odd. We oftentimes, and it's the only Costco I've ever experienced that sells bear spray. So for those hikers and bikers, having complimentary bear spray, well, we're not going to talk liability. Those are the
Sure.
type of things that kind of really stand out.
No,
The
we were
Victor
adding the
Pistol,
bear as the feature. That was the amenity was the bear.
yeah, maybe this is sculpture. Let's just leave it at that.
A
And then
mural.
back to those kind of hiking, biking guides. But those are the amenity packages that really yoga, wellness, anything that's going to kind of cater to that is going to be a great upgrade in this market to create your super property.
Cool. Okay, so what are like, so I think people really look at whitefish and they don't maybe know a whole lot about it. Are there any like sleeper submarkets or like micro neighborhoods that are incredibly interesting and that are like really hot? You're like, if something came up in this neighborhood, I would buy it right now.
Yeah, I'd venture down to Lakeside. While it's not really a sleeper, there is supply is there. You're going to be competing with lakefront properties, and to get on the lake while they come available, they're now pushing the 2.5 to 3 million. It was more sleepy about 2 years ago that you could still get on Flathead Lake, at least that far north, for just a little over 1 million, but that's changed.
Hmm.
But that is based on the development that's going to happen. Once again, I'd kind of really shift. They pencil from a cash on cash in revenue. But ultimately, I just think the proximity to the development that's going in down there, that could be potentially a sleeper. And even more sleeper than that would be just to the north of that. It's really
Hmm.
at the very north end of Flathead Lake, and that's a little pocket neighborhood called Summers.
Yeah,
And I got my eye on Summers personally right now.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
so
anywhere you would buy as a local, there's probably somewhere that our clients should keep
yes,
an eye on,
yeah.
take a look
And
at.
then my surprise one, because I just thought, once again, and it wasn't until I really dug into the numbers and started to kind of do the analytics, that glacier corridor property values are more palatable in that area.
Hmm.
And it's just driving the seasonality not as affected, because once again, like, it's 20 miles, 25 miles to get to Whitefish.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. In Montana, with highway speeds at 70 miles an hour, it's a true almost minute to minute, right? Like, we're not facing traffic. We're not facing some of the things that you face in metro areas that, is really kind of the beauty of the area.
Yeah,
So,
makes sense.
yep.
What is your, future outlook for the market? I know we talked about
Yep.
tourism and things like that, but what's your outlook,
Yeah, the
for
outlook's
the market?
Great. Outlook's overall positive, but there's one big thing we got to kind of put the elephant on the table. So you can't talk about this market without talking about what's happening with taxes in 2026. And it's the difference that they've gone so far is to differentiate primary long-term rental in one bucket, and then obviously this second home short-term rental bucket.
Yeah.
And that's coming with taxes. And just to really kind of keep it simple without getting into the weeds too much, I'm happy to send anybody in a follow-up some additional information to enlighten them. But literally, and it's right in, because if you look at the price point being roughly about 1.5, that's kind of where they set the mark. Now, if you're below that, and once again, if you can find a sleeper that's more in that 760 to below 1.5, it's going to be taxed a little bit differently, but we just need to walk away. In any pro forma, we got to put a 2% in there. And that's based on anybody who's buying from out of state.
Got it.
So if you really want to kind of make Montana your primary residence, and the restrictions and the regulations for being a resident in Montana are complex too. Like to believe there's a loophole out there. Realistically, I don't think there is. They're talking about primary residency being 7+ months, driver's license, right? You're not doing it the creative ways we used to kind of demonstrate residency. They've really tightened the screws. So anybody who's coming, and lots of people are coming into this market from California, Texas, Colorado, Arizona, they're going to have to be, or even investors across the country, they're going to have to build in that 2% tax and that pro forma based on home value.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will it stop it? No, because those same investors seem to have, right? You just need to be aware of it and build it into your pro forma.
Yeah. And I think ultimately that, when it comes to more listings coming online, like the demand is still there. We're seeing top assets take that market share consistently. And I think that's going to keep happening there.
100%. Yeah. Those that are actually standing out amongst the rest by doing the amenity packages, creating the super properties, having everything dialed in, they're going to continue to drive the majority of the share. I just think some of the other ones will fall by the wayside.
Yeah. So talking about tax, what's the regulatory environment look like there?
Yeah. So great question. A little bit different depending on which market we're talking about, but to quickly summarize it, it's tightened up. It's a rule-driven environment in Whitefish. Once again, the maps are available. So it's like other large short-term rental markets to where they've come in and built maps around, and it's all based on zoning. And you just can't have, so and then you're going to be licensed in, you're going to have permits, right? So you got to be registered, business license, permits in Whitefish. As we start to get out to 𝗀𝗵𝗄𝗆, within kind of 𝗀𝗵𝗄𝗆s, its core little area, similar type of regulations, but the majority of the sleeper opportunities that are 𝗀𝗵𝗄𝗆s is unincorporated county, and it's kind of free game. I did some of the dirty work to look and see what's the tax implications there. And it's really, if you have a property over 1 acre, you're considered short-term rental. So once again, those same taxes apply. Getting down to Lakeside and then unincorporated, they use the conditional use permits, but that's more going to apply to Lakeside. And actually, as you get out towards Glacier, not much regulation out there. So that's kind of that open window that makes that, a favorable kind of, where am I buying first? West Glacier, 𝗀𝗵𝗄𝗆.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you know what you're talking about.
Well, I appreciate it. There's always more that we can learn.
Yes, well, that's true. Yeah. But I've learned a lot about this market right now. And I have been there twice now. I've been invited to Bill's house out there.
Nice.
We went out there skiing last year. Actually, I think it's more than twice, because we went for B&B camp and a couple other things out there. So, but yeah, I like that market. It's beautiful. And Glacier is my favorite national park. We did a long, during COVID RV tour around. And after seeing Glacier, we went to the Grand Canyon looked over the edge, immediately went back to the hotel. We were like, there's a hole in the ground. It's red, But Glacier, yeah, just something special about the rivers and the wildlife and the trees and the animals. And, I think there really is something special out there that a lot of other places don't have. Yellowstone was kind of the same, right? It had, some of the really interesting things, but a lot of the other national parks don't have, I don't know, quite the same massive impact, I think, for people, and they continue to go back. I would continue to go back to Glacier over and over and over if I could every year.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. I think it's that first experience isn't going to be your last experience, right? And that kind of continues to bring people back. And then my sphere of influence and friends and stuff, we all kind of left Montana to go chase jobs and careers, but we're all coming back.
Yeah.
And it's for a reason. It's not just because we were born here. It's just our love for this area it creates memories that are eternal. So with that, I'd say that's kind of the next step, right? Outside of reaching out, if you have more, I would say if you haven't been to the area, it's worth the experience first, because it's going to be a different investment for most. Is it your first time investor market? Probably not. Can it be? Sure. It's just going to take a different threshold and tolerance or for the sticker price, right? But Andrew, the value's there, and it can be achieved in many ways. I mean, clearly in the pillars, I'd probably reverse once again that appreciation cash flow, but the opportunity is still there, and it's just pick the sub market you love the best.
Yeah. Andrew's got a good question here. How far in geographic radius does strong rental demand extend, like satellite towns like Eureka?
Oh, great question. Fantastic. So Eureka is probably closer to 60 miles to the north from Whitefish, right close to the Canadian border. It depends on somebody's palate for driving. The radius that we're probably talking about and really using probably Kalispell, which we didn't talk much about, but that's the urban kind of center for this area, where all the stores and big box stores are, and the Costco's of the world. I've been talking about a 30-mile radius. So Eureka would probably be an additional 30 miles outside of that. I was just up there, and but what I think that's a different conversation, and it's a great conversation, because you might pull more of that Canadian flow that knows this area. And then as pricing demands kind of force people out, you're going to get value. You're going to get that Eureka could be a sleeper. There's a beautiful golf course out there. There's lakes out there. And there's lots of places like Eureka that we can't cover in 45 minutes. But that's a great question. And there's demand out there. You're going to get more seasonality pressures, I would say. And that's the opposite end of Glacier. So that's going the opposite direction. It's going northwest from Whitefish.
Got it.
Yep.
What separates top performers there from the average? So we kind of looked at some of those averages earlier, which are all up year over year, which is great. But what really separates, like, here's the top 10% to everybody else?
Yes. I'd say property itself, demonstrated by the photos. But if you have views, I'd say views are given. We oftentimes talk location. We have proximity in all these markets here. But your views, the amenity package that you put together for that. And then ultimately, I think it gets back to that guest experience, which is going to be driven by the host, right?
Yeah.
But proximity to outside access, to trails, that your best properties are going to be in those areas that have, and then they have the amenity packages to back it up.
Yeah.
And we could go on and on, but that is the key differentiators between those that picture well. It's your super property. I mean, let's be honest. They show well. They have the amenity packages to go with it. They have the guest experience. Those are the ones that are getting the 5-star reviews. And they actually all kind of cater to kind of the experience.
Yeah. As we get wrapped up here, what are some big takeaways that maybe we haven't talked about yet that you want the audience to take away?
Just the Montana experience as the last best place. It's big sky country. We have compression events. We have dual peak seasonality. That is key to driving, obviously, occupancy, ADR. and then it's the experience of what a day in Montana would do for you, and that's not only and it could be capitalized on from an investment opportunity as well. And then it is important just to remember that there are other considerations when it comes to regulations and our future taxes that need to be considered when investing in this market. You can't consider investing in this market without taking in those things into consideration. But
yeah,
and that's once you come, you're not going to want to leave.
Yeah. I think, it's really great that you are focusing on, here is something to really pay attention to, right? This could be a detractor. This could be a reason you don't invest in a certain property here, but may invest in another. And I think that really captures how all savvy agents feel about their markets, is that we know that there is a lot of uninvestable in our markets. And we're happy to say that. We're happy to be really upfront about that. And we want to be really upfront about that so that we only have good case studies behind us, right? We only want to sell really good properties because we truly believe in our markets. And so I think that ultimately that makes you a really good fit for the team.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, it's the truth. I mean, we have to play both sides. I mean, as we represent our clients, it's nothing but integrity and obviously putting everyone's best interests, and it's the clients first and foremost. So
yeah. Awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap up here. But Scott, it was really awesome getting to talk to you and getting to know your market a little bit more. For anybody that wants to or has watched this all the way to the end, if you want to tag Scott or I, if you have any questions, if there's anything that we didn't answer about the market, anywhere that this video is live on YouTube or Instagram or any of our Facebooks or our group, we're also going to be emailing this out to our entire database. So if you get this an email and you have a question, please just click reply and we can answer any questions that you've got. Scott, what's a good way for folks to reach out to you?
Yeah, a couple different ways. Obviously by email could work fine. That's Scott Reese at @𝗹𝗵𝗶𝘀. And or if you want to book a call, you can use www.𝗹𝗵𝗃.realty/Scott, and that will get onto my calendar, and I'd be happy to have and continue the conversation.
Awesome. Well, Scott, it was awesome getting to know you a little bit more here, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do out there in Northwest.
Yeah,
Montana.
You're gonna be excited. We all will be.
Cool, man.
Fantastic.
All right.
Look forward to it.
See you guys soon.